in my opinion, right now using Mossad to take out some Iranian Mossad agents inside Iran to surgically remove some barriers for Iranian people would be more helpful than airstrikes in the middle of the protests. Because if something is going well, you don't want to do something that might stop it or might disrupt it. Like, don't change something that is going in the right direction. Right? So that I don't know what the effects of that going to be on the process itself. So I think that if Israel is getting involved, it would be better if it's like a surgical, strategic removal of something rather than like a all-out attack. But I don't know. Obviously, they have probably better information than I do.
If to be honest, the Israeli doctrine is using plane to decapitate heads of snakes, not just to
Right. Yes.
carpet bomb areas. We do it also to take out one or two people.
You're right. You're right. Actually, you're right. But to your point, by the way, I don't know if people are noticing or not that there's less or basically no one saying woman life freedom. You don't hear Zan Zindagi Azadi anymore. You guys
Right.
notice that? Yeah. Because the leftists are trying took that to make it to their own chant, and that's why people are avoiding that. That's the reason why a lot of people, like very left-leaning feminists, were trying to take advantage of the fact that woman life freedom had women in it, and they're trying to make this into a female revolution. And Iranian women rejected that. This is why the people who actually added, so the chant originally was woman life freedom, and the people who started chanting adding men, so zan zindagi azadi, mad mihan abadi, which means man, nation, prosperity. So women were the Iranian women were the ones who didn't let this to become a if only female, like say female-led revolution or female revolution. So Iranian women rejected that, rejected the feminist attempt to turn this into a feminist revolution, and they wanted to make it sure that this is a national revolution and not a feminist revolution, which is, I think it's very powerful that the Iranian women themselves rejected that kind of framing of the revolution.
Yeah, it's always leftists are always trying to take shit over, subvert things, make it their own. They would just fucked it up.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You see, that's what Armin just explained. That they developed, how do you call it, an allergy to this kind of stuff over there.
Yeah, exactly. No shit.
Yeah. God, they like anything leftist is really. I mean, sometimes it gets so much. Like there's so much. It's very, very hated in Iran. It's like they have the Iranian people will never forget the leftists for actually causing the 1979 Islamic Revolution. It's actually, I'm actually very curious to see that if Iran gets free, what is going to happen to our politics? Like, are we not going to have leftist parties based on how unpopular the left is? Like, how is that going to work out? Like, it's interesting to see.
So, Armin, is there a stated number of casualties from the clashes, from the good side, of course, because nobody cares about the other side?
No, not yet. It seems like we might have not had. It's actually very surprising how how small the reaction from the regime has been. It seems like they must be very, very weak right now. Is yeah, it is. It's
Yeah,
fascinating to see because this level, usually by now they would have done so much more. I mean, the internet hasn't even been cut.
I heard the internet was cut in the Hamidine Providence, but they're still like using things like Starliner to get
now go
on top of
figure.
it.
That maybe that's some Mossad help. I don't know, but maybe.
Very interesting. Also notice that there are no chants against the presidents, right? The president, because he's basically nothing. nobody gives a shit about who, man. Like people, yeah, like he doesn't even matter. He doesn't make the decisions.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that, I mean, casualties, because I was listening to this guy. He came up on a format like this at Goldie's show around the afternoon here. I mean, that was, let's say, 4 or 5 hours back, maybe a little less. And he said that he's from Iran. And I mean, the guy talked about the guys, you need to get ready, get sticks from the ground, get stones, use hand-to-hand combat. I mean, I listened to him. I almost take my old pair of boxing gloves and started hitting the wall. I was listening to him for like 30 minutes. In 20 minutes, I was ready to go, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just wish people, I mean, I wish that people will stay safe, I guess, from the good side again.
Yeah. So on the Persian side, and the, every time I go live on the Persian channel, I go into our Discord server and then we talk. And today it was like crowded. Like when I finished my live on my Persian channel, when I went to the Discord server to talk about what's happening, it was flooded. Like everybody wanted to come there and talk about what's happening and what to do. And it's very interesting because some people wanted to talk about more extreme things that we need to do, which I'm not going to talk about what specifically they are here, but we had to tell them to please don't do that because we don't want to lose our Discord server. But a lot of people were irritated with us that we're not letting them say what they recommend us doing in the streets. We kept on telling them, guys, we cannot recommend those things here because we're going to lose our Discord server. And some people, so there was a little bit of tension there. And there was a lot of people that were recommending to people who might be scared to go and chant. And the recommendations were about just go outside. You don't need to chant. Just keep the streets busy, even if you're not chanting. Just by being in the streets, you are going to make it harder for the anti-red police to arrest people and do their job. And as the streets look busier, more people will be encouraged to join. So just go out, even if you're not participating in the protest. There was a lady that suggested to just bring a plastic bag and put some onions and a cucumber in it, to say that like I was just shopping, right? Like I was just on my way just shopping, so just in case somebody stops you, right? So then people were telling you, recommending not to bring your phone. And if you are bringing your phone to record things, make sure you sign out from all your apps. Make sure that if anything, make sure that you don't, that nothing could be logged into with your fingerprints. So because they take your phone, they make you log in, they try to kind of see where your friends are, who you're connected with. So just don't bring your phone, or bring a clean phone for recording, or log out of all your apps or stuff like that. If you're bringing your phone, put it in airplane mode so that the regime, by the way, a lot of apps in Iran are the government gets basically all the data from your phone, right? So if you have your app for the bank, if you have the app for this, you could basically just assume that if they're on your phone, all your data is available to the government. So that's pretty scary like that. Hila, go ahead.
What's scary if the regime is going to fall? So what you will do with the data? I mean, last time they opened the jails, right? They bombed the gates. No, they didn't bomb the gates.
It was Israel, and I don't think they bombed the gates. I think they bombed somewhere inside the prison. And I think that gate exploding, I think that was an AI video. I think they bombed somewhere inside Evin prison, and to this day we don't know why. It's actually a mystery for what that happened.
I think they were trying to bomb the gates or something just to release them. No?
No. Richard, you're saying something?
I had heard when that happened, they call it Avon University. That's where all the anti-regime intellectuals are in prison. So the idea might have been symbolic, to say that there's, they'll be free to oppose the regime intellectually.
Yeah. I do think that they were probably targeting somebody. in the prison. Just remember, there are a lot of people in prison who are actually pro-regime, and they're in prison for a strategic reason by the regime. So it is possible that there was somebody important in prison that needed to be eliminated, but we don't know actually. You cannot free the prisoners by blowing up the gates. There are more barriers than the front gate. Like there are
So
many other barriers.
what
If
are the
they're
protesters are afraid of now? I mean, if they will get caught and they have their details, I mean, is it matter?
Because they will get to they're trying to see who you're connected with, who are the other people who you're collaborating with for the protests, to find the networks of connections between people. And also because they will try to find your weak spots, like the people you love, the people you care about, to go after them if they want information from you. They like looking at who you're mostly loving with, so that they use them as a pressure point against you. If you love your mother the most or your sister the most, who do you care about the most? Even if you don't care about dying, you are going to care about being responsible for your mother being tortured, right? That's something that you care about more than, maybe more than even your own life. So that's always used by the regime against people. That's what they use against Bita, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cruel. It's very cruel. It's a very cruel tactics.
How do you
there were
see?
several. Sorry,
Go on.
go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
I said there were several symbolic targets hit in that war. The countdown to the destruction of Israel. You know, for instance, there was something like that in Pahlavi Square or whatever it was. The targeting of those buildings is also kind of a sign to the people expected to, when that uprising to occur, that was one of the places Israel wanted them to liberate.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, we want to liberate the entire country, right? So nowhere is liberated unless the entire country is liberated, right?
Armin, how do you see it unfold? Like, what needs to happen in the street right now for a major step up?
Armed forces joining the people. Do you guys
Artesh.
agree? Right. Yes, any armed forces joining the people. I mean, if it comes from the IRGC, it would be even more significant, because people would be very impressed if some IRGC people joined the armed forces.
So
And
police,
especially,
army, the defectors, basically.
Yeah, they several defected already.
yes,
Yeah, but they need to be out about it, I assume.
yes. Especially the people in the streets who are responsible, like the anti-riot police. If they refuse to
I think
carry
they'll
out
die.
orders,
They won't stop carrying out the orders because they know that the people will kill them. The anti-riot police, people will kill them.
yeah,
And they know it.
The alternative
Even if they switch sides and they wave the flag and say, you know, whatever, I think they'll kill them. I don't know.
It's not
No,
Their
our
mob
riot
is
police,
going to
Mossad.
destroy them. Their mob is going to destroy them. They will be the first ones. They are.
It's
No?
not our
no, I
riot
don't think
police.
so. I think people would welcome that, because one of the chants are, and like people are chanting, asking them to join the people. So I think
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
people.
Yeah, but I'll switch places with you. You are a police officer. Let's say you are a police officer that shot me in the eye a year ago, and now I need to forgive you.
No,
Yeah.
okay, but no, those specific people who have blood on their hand, probably those specific people wouldn't be forgiven. But many of them don't have, like, I mean, the number of, there are way more numbers of them than the ones who have directly been responsible for hurting somebody, right? So we still have a lot of them that have clean hands so far. I mean, you can see a lot of them. Like, I have a video of
It's not like
people
an
like,
everyday thing. It
no, a
wasn't
lot
like an
of them
everyday
actually,
thing.
a lot of them don't want to be there. A lot of them don't want to be there. A lot of them are just there because they're trying to, this is the only way to make a living right now, right? A lot of them hate being there, right? Just yesterday came out a video from one of them. People are saying, like, why are you doing this to us? Don't you understand us? And the protester was like, isn't your life fucked as well? Isn't this how much they're paying you? shouldn't you be understanding us given that this is your pay? And the guy said to the protesters, yes, I understand you, like I get you. And then people were saying that, then why are you doing this? I think there is going to be a tipping point where they refuse order. When they, if they think that they could resist order, they will resist orders. Many of them, not all of them.
They don't need to
I think
resist order. They need to flip their gun to the other side.
But you have to play devil's advocate. I think, based on what I've seen, there's so much anger to the regime. There's so much anger to the way people have been brutally repressed for decades now. Any symbol of that regime, even if it's a defector, but they, basically wouldn't. Some people just couldn't trust them, and they would probably react violently to any symbol they could find of that regime, even if they were, claiming to be a defector.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so here's what Prince Reza Pahlavi has said. Whatever Prince Reza Pahlavi says, people would follow his lead. And Richard, this is actually a very interesting point, because what Prince Reza Pahlavi had said, a lot of Iranians used to say that we will not forgive anybody that was with the regime even for a second. We will kill them slowly, right? That's what the Iranian people used to say. But Prince Reza Pahlavi advocated for basically a blanket forgiveness to anybody who wasn't directly responsible for killing and hurting Iranians, right? And as soon as he said that, many Iranians basically accepted it, because they accept what he says. And I think that is strategic, because if the regime forces think that they're all going to die if the regime falls, then they're going to be motivated to fight, because right now they're just fighting for their paycheck. But if they think that if the regime falls, they're all going to die, then they're going to be motivated to fight for their lives. And they're going to fight a lot harder to make sure that they don't die. So we don't want them to be dismotivated. So it makes sense to just say that there's going to be a blanket forgiveness.
But Prince Reza had mentioned that specifically in his transition plan, where he talked about people without blood on their hands, basically blameless technocrats being a necessary element, in the transitional government to keep stability. So at some point, you definitely wouldn't want that anger to become counterproductive. There has to be some kind of an amnesty to the people who don't have blood on their hands, and I'm sure there are plenty.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, you have so much information. How do you have this much information? We're going essay.
No, I'm just I my computer lagged a little bit and I saw some hand popped, so I think somebody raised his hand and I'm not sure who it was. Maybe it might be couple.
I think it was Arman.
Anybody else?
I have a question for Armin Navabi. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Okay, so why do you think too much Salehi is a fake opposition? Like, people accuse him of being paid by the regime. Like, are these accusations true? How reliable is this?
I'm not going to go say that he was paid by the regime, but he's taking an anti-Pahlavi stance. So we consider him to be a traitor, because he's taking, and he wants people to stop going into the streets.
What about Masih al-Najad?
Hold on, let me finish with Tumaj first, right? So Tumaj is now focusing his activism against Pahlavi instead of the Islamic Republic, and he's advocating for people not to come out into the streets, because apparently the people of Iran are not wise enough to understand that the Pahlavi is not the answer. So he thinks that this is not the time for revolution anymore, and it's the time for us to become more intelligent and more wise. And he's saying, go home and study a book. So he's now doing political podcasts.
They got him.
Yeah. So he used to be considered a fighter, but now he's telling people to go leave the streets and go home and start reading books.
Wow. So that's why. What about Masih al-Najad? What about her?
So Masih al-Najad was anti-Pahlavi because she saw Pahlavi as competition. Masih al-Najad wanted to be the main person, and she always was jealous of the popularity of Pahlavi. And she made that very clear when last time she went on Iran International to talk about Pahlavi. She was basically complaining about the she wants to be the main person. She's not in it for the Iranian people. She's in it for being the number one person, that she wanted to be the person that people mention. Also, she started becoming closer to cessationists, people like Kurdish cessationists, and this foreign guy, I forgot his name, Mark Levy or something like that. He ran into pieces. So she was also taught, because she was getting closer cessationists. This is a huge red line for the Iranian people, so they couldn't accept that. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I saw a couple of people raise their hand.
Yeah,
Gotta run, Armin. Javid Shah, I'm Israel Chai. We'll be in touch.
Javid, Richard, please come more often. Sorry if I didn't interrupted you. Like, I really do want to listen to more of your views, because I can see that you actually have really good information. So I hope I see you here a lot more.
No apologies
Young
necessary.
Turk.
Yeah, you will, God willing.
Earlier today.
No pun intended.
Sounds good.
All right. Uncle Coping wanted to say.
And then put Samantha on the list as well, because Samantha wants to say something. But go on, Uncle Coping. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are you plugged in?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like I'm in from a Soviet radio or something like the computer speaker. Okay, good.
No, you're good. You're good.
I am, first of all, very happy that I managed to get on here in time. I usually always miss these. So it was nice to get on here. I think you got a pretty good setup here, Armin. And I think it's good for people to take the opportunity that you provide here, because I don't think people should get accustomed to, keeping their thoughts for themselves or just typing it in the comments. I think there is immeasurable value for them to actually just get comfortable speaking your mind in public, and having these live public discourses I think it's not only useful for us, but it's useful for others. I'm a big fan of open mics, generally speaking, so I just wanted to say that right off the bat. I have a question. This seems like the uprisings this time around in Iran are way more intense than what we've seen before. The security forces seem to be, mostly from what I've seen, overwhelmed. There are no places where they seem to be comprehensively gaining control, or just gunning down even. It's not seeming to work for them. And so are there places, is this like all across the country? Are there places where the regime is holding notably harder? And would that be viable or conducive targets for Israel to strike at in order to remove their physical ability to clamp down on the protesters? Because I imagine that once there is no further resistance, like all resistance is futile from the internal security forces, they are going to be way more inclined to just say like, oh no, but we are with you all along. Oh no, we also want down with the Khomeini and IRGC and all that kind of stuff. So like, do you know more, like you mentioned here, and because I was kind of part and partial, like would it be different in, say, the Kurdish areas with their secessionist propensities, or the Balochis, which I've also heard have a bit of tendency in that direction? Like, are the same, are the sentiments any different? Are they more nuances than for us foreigners to look into here?
Well, I mean, I don't think the Kurdish or the Baluchis do have. I mean, they have cessationists there, but they don't represent the majority there. Like most Kurdish people in Iran and most Baluchi people in Iran are not cessations. So the cessationists represented, like we have polls that shows this, that it's a tiny minority of the Kurdish or Baluchi population that are there. The vast majority of the Kurdish Iranians consider themselves to be Iranian first and Kurdish second, right? Usually the government is very more sensitive about Tehran than anywhere else, and things are happening in Tehran. I did see some reports that for some reason nothing is happening in Tabriz, but I don't think that's because the government is holding anything there. But I think that everything eventually comes down to Tehran falling, right? I mean, even if people are protesting in other places, it will help Tehran because the government has to send some of its forces to other places. But at the end of the day, for the regime to fall, Tehran needs to fall, right? So if Israel is going to help with anything, I think it needs to be probably needs to be focused in Tehran. But obviously, Israel has its own agenda, like its own priorities first. So usually they try to focus on defanging the Islamic Republic for them to be able to, like, their priority is probably going to be more on making sure they minimize how much the Islamic Republic could hurt Israel in the next round of attacks. That is going to be their priority, as it should be, right?
But they're in that priority. Wouldn't that be to cripple the Islamic Republic? So let's say targeting IRGC headquarters and such, or just to finish first, if I may. So if I understood you correctly, you're saying basically that there's a very low chance that, say, the Kurdish or the Balochis are going to be trying to exploit this opportunity to push for any form of secession.
The Kurdish secessionists, yes, they will try to use this opportunity, right? But I don't want to basically generalize this to all Iranian Kurdish. So, yeah, the cessationist Kurdish people will try to take advantage of this opportunity. The cessationist Baluchis will try to take advantage of this opportunity. I just don't want to say the Kurdish will, because more.
No, I get it. If I understood you correctly, like you would say they're so small that even if they were to want to take an opportunity, it's very unlikely to bear any fruition in their favor.
Well, they might have some luck with this because even if they're small in number, they're the only groups of people that actually have weapons. And also because even if they're small, they have support from across the border, right? So the Baluchi cessationists have the Baluchis from the other side of the border to help them, and they have a place to go to for refuge, to rearm and come back. And the Kurdish cessationists, they also have support from the Kurds in Syria, for example, or Iraq, or from Turkey, right? So they have so that's the problem. I
So
mean,
for
mostly Iraq and Turkey. Yeah.
So for the Israelis, then because I agree with you a lot that for the Israelis they need to stick to their objective that are more on a state on state level, basically the next threat and whatnot. But they are also incapacitating their enemy completely because this is an implacable enemy. They know they cannot negotiate with this. This has to be taken down, and so it is like maybe not security stations and such, because I can imagine that being a little bit risky, like a big chance that you take too much collateral damage and you might lose favor. And it may not even be necessary, because if you take out IRCG headquarters, the security stations will be even more frightened to react. And as well, the military option for the IRCG to deploy is likely to be impeded, just like with the 12-day war, where they didn't even dare to bring out their launchers towards the end because they knew that the Israeli air supremacy would just take them out.
Yes.
And if they are kept cowering, just like the Khomeini was held down in the bunker, then the ability for the regime to enforce upon the Iranian people is even further diminished. Like, do you imagine that being like? What I see, one constraint of that would be, unfortunately, yet again, the Westerners, like the Americans and so forth. They don't want to fussy things up, but then again, Trump has kind of been hinting a lot. It's like, yeah, screw this Khomeini, let's take him out.
Yeah. Actually, that's a very encouraging thing to see right now, because Trump seems to be warming up with just allowing Netanyahu to do what he needs this time, because his criteria changed. Remember, because during the first 12-day war, he always insisted on the Islamic Republic not having nuclear weapons and not caring about anything else other than that, like not talking about the support for the terrorists in the region. So there's three things that is the problem for other countries when it comes to the Islamic Republic. Them going nuclear, their ballistic missiles, the range of their ballistic missiles, even if they're not nuclear, and their support for terrorism in the region. Trump seemed to ignore the second two and seemed to only be insisting on putting pressure on the Islamic Republic only for the nuclear thing and not caring about the other two. However, in Netanyahu's recent visit to Washington, we were all pleasantly surprised that he now cares about the ballistic missiles. So I don't know what Netanyahu did in Washington, but Netanyahu looked so happy. It seemed like Bibi worked his magic on Trump, and Trump was speaking more like Netanyahu than ever before. And he most of the time he was even when he was responding to questions that had nothing to do with Iran, he kept on coming back and talking about Iran. And it seemed like he praised Netanyahu so much. Maybe that should be my next show, by the way. He praised Netanyahu so much. It seemed like he was showing him so much love, and it seemed like he wouldn't have been showing him this much love unless it would be odd to think that he rejected anything Netanyahu said while showing in front of camera, praising him this much. And he also said that they will attack, like he will support Israel attacking the Islamic Republic immediately if they go nuclear, if they try to enrich uranium, but also if they keep developing their ballistic missiles, which is a new thing for Trump. And it's very encouraging. And it suggests maybe in the next war, they wouldn't stop Netanyahu that much. Also, because Trump is moving away from the isolationist MAGA and closer to the neocons. And I think the Epstein file had something to do with this, because Trump got so annoyed with the anti-Israeli isolationist part of MAGA, because they constantly attacked him over the Epstein files, and he pushed Trump away from those group of people and closer to neocons.
I think Trump cannot say, yeah, I'm all in, Reza, Pahlavi. He cannot say like a specific kind of stuff that will imply that like this big nation is intervening in and trying to overcome something. So the best he can do is be fully support of Netanyahu and show that he's in the same head as Netanyahu, and everybody can understand.
By the way, BT has a really interesting suggestion. BT in the chat is saying maybe Netanyahu paid Trump $7,000, so that's also something to consider. But go on, go on. You were going to say something?
It strikes me like where would it be like perhaps a point of no return? Is it beyond the point of no return for the Islamic regime, or like where could they actually be able to rein this in, and this turns out to be a bloody disappointment?
So here's the thing. I always say that I think the Islamic Republic is over. I just don't know when we're going to see the final collapse. It might take longer than we want. So if these protests are not the protests that ends the regime, this is not a disappointment. It was just another swing of the axe against the body of the Islamic Republic. And it may take multiple swings, but every time we have another wave of protests, the Islamic Republic is weaker than the previous wave, and the people are stronger compared to the previous wave. So if this was not the swing that brought the Islamic Republic down, I don't see this as a loss. I see this as a revelation that this was not the last swing, and it takes more swings to take the Islamic Republic down. But I do think that if we keep at it, it will fall. Yeah.
Thank you, Armin.
No, thank you.
All right. So you said before that the protest needs to carry on without interference. I really want to push on it a little bit, because I think that it is Israel's interest in multiple factors why to actually carry out a strike right now. I think that it serves a couple of purposes at the same time. Number one, it's hurting the regime while it's already struggling to breathe. In order to encourage this thing to go further, our media reported a few days ago that the IRGC have prepped up approximately the same amount of rockets that they had before. The rocket itself, about 2,000 right now. We also know that the Iranian regime is looking for alternative for an atomic bomb, because it probably wouldn't have the resources to develop one fast enough, and so they wish to go into biological warfare and chemical warfare.
Yeah.
If my country will not attack them very, very quickly, I will start protesting here. And the third reason to why now is I think that in the spirit of the protests right now that happening in Tehran and all, when you blast through the sky with a sonic boom and take out a few leaders, I think that in the day after, peace negotiations are going to be much, much easier when the people see you as the cavalry force that came from the dark. I think that it will recruit a lot of minds that maybe don't like Israel actually to like them if they do it right now, because it's kind of like we are fighting together. Understand? Shoulder to shoulder. Yeah.
Well, here's what I think. I think Israel has a lot of good information on what works best. So I think if they attack, that was the right thing to do. And if they don't attack, that is also the right thing to do. But maybe I'm giving them too much credit. I don't know.
All right. So now we have Samantha, then Sefid, and Uncle Copping.
And Hila raised her hand as well. So
I was going to say,
yeah, go ahead.
Put her out first,
Young
Samantha.
Turks, like 16 hours ago, had a video basically saying that the protests in Iran are like completely like engineered by Israel.
A psyop.
You're kidding. fuck?
No, like 16 hours ago, they made this video, and it's pretty bad. They're insisting that everything's, like, organized by Israel.
Fuck these people. Fuck these people.
They use
Holy
the term
shit.
psyop. They said psyop.
What?
Motherfuckers. Can you send that? Can you put? Yeah. Are you gonna post a link to that, Samantha, in the chat?
I'll post a link to it in a second. I just said something else in the chat.
Okay. How about that? Should I respond to that with
Yeah.
Goldie?
Yes.
It's a claim that I saw in your show that in the chat they started writing this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was, like,
yeah.
posting that in the chat.
You should answer that.
Let me make the cover for it right now.
So in the meanwhile, we had Hila.
I want two things. One, I don't understand Farsi, so I don't understand what the IDF Farsi is saying. But yesterday night, they were making a video that looked like the videos that we get before war, like what kind of stuff you need for supply, if you're gonna be stuck for a few days. And I didn't understand what they were saying, but it looks serious. And the other thing I want to say is about it's confusing for people trying to follow from around the globe to understand which day is the protest. Is it the third day? Is this the fourth day? You need a clock running internationally. So people will know, like you, Goldie, whatever, you posting this clock, like a website that is only a clock counting the times. So people will know. Because if I hear on the news, oh, this is the demonstration from the third day, it could be 2 days.
Your mic is open.
Turn off the mic.
Oscar. Should I close it? Oscar? Okay, go on, Hila.
Carry on.
So just if people want to catch up and they see something from the third day, they feel like this is the third day, but it's actually 2 days apart because of time differences. So it's like old news and you can think it's new news. But if you have a clock that you run,
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Okay, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, they have the dates on the video, so that helps, right?
it's just something that people can connect to, and it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't say anything, it's just a clock counting the time from the minute the demonstration started. So people have a mark of time, even if they are
Usually,
the protest themselves or people watching it.
okay. Yeah. Usually I think like whatever the people do, that is probably the wisest thing to do. I'm a big believer in the wisdom of the crowd. So I think the most strategic things to do is usually what people decide to do based on what they're experiencing while they're fighting, you know. So that's why I always think that what we're saying is probably the most rational way of going about it. Yeah. But okay, I'll keep that in mind though. Thank you.
I don't know. I used it in a few stuff, and it's easy to make. I'm not good in computers, but if people are good in computer, it's something they can do really easily, and it just helps to unite people that you have this URL.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
We have Sefid Kufdast. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I said in a chat, but just to make sure and not mislead anyone, I'm not actually Persian. It's just a name I chose as a nickname. So the first thing I would like to ask you is by analogy to, for example, the French Revolution. The Bastille Day was when they took like a weapons facility, like the people stormed this. Do you think because we saw the people in Tehran like storm the anti-riot police, the revolution could be at that stage? Or do you think it's not really a possibility and we have to wait for defections from the army? What would you think is the more likely outcome?
Wait, what was the
Do you
option?
think like the regime would be overthrown when like the people storm weapons facility and seize weapon?
Uh-huh.
Or do you think it will first have to come from a massive defection on the armed
Okay.
forces?
So I don't know. I don't know. But if the second option would be the better option, because the first option means that we're going to have a bloodbath,
It could be
right?
both. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be both. It could be both. But if it's more of the second, then it will be done with less people dying.
Okay, then I wanted to bounce back on what you were talking with Lassie. Maybe, and also something you said in your video earlier, where you mentioned that the IRGC leaders might be hiding because they expect an Israeli strike. So do you think Israel may be playing time by not striking now, so they make it easier on the protesters and waiting just to see?
Wait, what is the Mossad strategy here?
So you said that the repression, like it was harder for the regime to repress the revolution because
Yep.
the leaders
Yes.
were probably
They're hiding in
hiding
their
because they
holes. Yeah,
expect a
yeah,
strike. Do you think it's
yeah, because they
intentional
expect
from Israel?
because right.
Do you think Israel did that on purpose? Like they don't strike to make it easier on
Oh,
the protesters?
well, Israel. I don't know if they saw this coming, but the result is that it's making it easier on the protesters, because what's happening, maybe they're noticing that this is happening, so they're continuing it so that the Iranian people, because I saw an official Mossad account posted that they're going to be watching and supporting the Iranian people and do whatever they need to make the Iranian people win this battle, right? So there is a direct admission that Mossad is at least wanting to help the Iranian people, right? I don't think this was planned. Israel just took out so many of the IRGC commanders in the 12-day war. They did that just to be able to remove IRGC commanders who would be, if they were alive, they would be managing the 12-day war. So by cutting the head of the IRGC, the Islamic Republic was enabled to actually carry out a major blow against Israel. That was their objective. But the result was that the Islamic Republic officials saw, like, how the fuck did they find us everywhere? Even some of the highest ranking regime officials didn't know where these IRGC leaders sleep at night. And Israel knew exactly every single one of them was and took them out within very small, time distance from each other. So they realized that their phones have been compromised, that they have Israel has spies in place in many different places. So they realized, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but when Israel attacked one of the IRGC meetings, you know who arranged that meeting? Is Israel arranged the meeting,
Yeah, the
and they
guy that
didn't
they
know.
executed.
No, no. So yeah, I mean, Israel messaged everyone's phone to, or something like that, to meet in a place. Well, actually, yeah, and then when they met, they blew them up, right? So the meeting's arrangement was done by Israel as well. I mean, it's interesting because they even delayed the bombing because they knew that somebody was late. So not only they were aware of where they're meeting, they had real-time information regarding who has arrived and who hasn't arrived. Yeah, okay. So this is like a crazy details level of information to have. So the Islamic Republic officials are paranoid. They have put all their phones away, and they're not meeting because they're afraid that if there's more than a couple of them in a location, then that would be a great target. So just imagine how difficult it would be for them to manage things. Like, what are they supposed to do? Like, send pigeons, carrier pigeons to each other, like smoke signals? Like, it's really hard to govern, like, within, so that was the result. I don't know if Israel was planning for this to be the result, but this is the result. This is why this is a good. But I do think that Israel didn't attack on purpose until now, because they saw the economy of Iran collapsing, and they didn't want the Islamic Republic to be able to blame it on the war. So we like the escalation of the economic collapse was pretty obvious to many of us, and obviously it was obvious to Israel as well. So if they, and the past couple of days the collapse has become much more rapid. So if Israel attacked before then the Islamic Republic could say like, oh well, we're increasing fuel prices because this is wartime conditions, we're cutting electricity because of wartime conditions, we're cutting water. This is not because of our mismanagement, this is because Israel has forced us into warlike conditions. And I think the Islamic Republic was trying to bait Israel to attack sooner. A lot of people don't know this, but the Islamic Republic was actually wanting Israel to attack so they could blame all of this shit on Israel, and also to make the environment a lot more military law based on, and basically be able to control their own people more based on the idea that we're in wartime situation. So a lot of your freedoms and much more government control is needed right now. So Israel didn't fall for that. Israel waited for the Iranian people seeing the economic collapse and blaming it all of that on Israel, and also not giving the regime the excuse of military control because of war situations to be able to avoid the next round of protests. So I think Israel was waiting for the next round of protests to happen. So if they do attack, all of everything that is happening, it can be blamed on the Islamic Republic by the Iranian people. So I think it was very strategic.
Now we have Uncle Kopi.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. All the things you outlined there pertains to what I was going to ask. I recall you mentioned a while ago, this was shortly after Assad had fallen, and you reported on a slew of assassinations going across Iran. And these were a little bit uncharacteristic because even the most high-ranking targets, most notably a couple of IRGC judges, would still not technically qualify for Mossad's list. That they're usually not the type of targets that would be worthwhile for the Mossad to go after. But it seemed to be very useful for the dissidents. These judges were very heavily involved in internal repressions and whatnot, which kind of like here, I'm just speculating a bit, but the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, I don't believe the Mossad will be able to pull that off if there is enough copious amount of assistance by the dissidents of Iran. Like, it's very clear what you just pointed out, how they're taking launchers over there. They took out the regime officers and so forth without them even knowing where they were. They even called them up. The expansive espionage infrastructure that the Israelis have there is terrific. And so with that, right, I kind of first of all think the judges that made if the Mossad have anything to do with it, it's a favor they return to the dissidents, like a quid pro quo. And on that note, maybe the Israelis may not be providing any military strikes at the moment for diplomatic reasons. It's just not the time for it. Too high of a risk for collateral damage and whatnot. However, given that they do have a lot of operatives in Iran and very well integrated, that does not mean that they could not be assisting on, similar to the drone attack that they did, where they had to smuggle in a bunch of drones and launched out. Well, they can use that for assassinations. And note one thing that was particularly, like, I thought that was like, I was impressed. And I kind of liked it, even though it's considered a bit unsavory. Namely, they called the officers, and they actually released one of these phone calls where they tell, if you care for yourself and your family, you have 12 hours to surrender, film yourself relinquishing any form of loyalty to the Islamic regime. Otherwise, you will all die. It's actually pretty much exactly the same what the Islamic regime does to the Iranians, which I think it is. That's why I think it is appropriate. And that is also something that, while then during the 12-day operation, the Israelis were operating with, let's say, high quality strikes in the sense that they were using, advanced weaponaries and so forth. Given that they were able to exact a fair range of assassinations, both on not only a lot of mid-level officers, but like I want to remind people who may not be aware, these judges, they were in a heavily IRGC headquarter, I believe. It was heavily protected. This is not something, and it's very, very uncharacteristic of the Mossad to be sending their operatives in such a mission. They would not, because there's too high of a risk that gets captured, and then you have a lot of issues. So now that the Israelis are, like, now it's maybe not a war, but the Israelis are, given that they have already collaborated with dissidents on assassination, it seems to me that if there was any time to do it, it will be now. Have drones and whatever to launch on the toughest commanders that are hardest to get, and have contingencies available for the protesters. So when the internal security start getting too brutal, start communicating principally with violence, then the Israelis can be providing the light equipment that the protesters would need in order to deter, basically frightened. And they will be frightened, when they see that drones are coming on, especially if they start getting phone calls like, hey, we are noticing, like they get phone calls straight into the commanders, right? We are noticing that you are whipping around your own folks a little bit more than we appreciate. You may want to stop that if you know what's best for you and your family, right? And then boom, they're going to stop. And that is good. That's a good way for Israel to get involved without, the strikes, they cause a lot of attention, right? It's a much more subtle way that may actually prove to be a lot more effective, because that what do the Iranians want? Do they want a savior? No, they actually want to do this themselves. Like they should be the ones to do it themselves. So if the minimal amount of assistance coming from the Israelis, but it's actually acted on by the Iranians, I think across the board, that strikes me as the best course of action.
No, that's pretty interesting. It also reminds me of the tactic that was mentioned in Discord, like other than Israel basically sending that message to the Mossad, Iranian Mossad agents in Iran carrying out operations like that. Many other average Iranians could identify the riot police and where they live. That scares the shit out of them if they do that, right? Because a lot of the riot police people are really afraid of being identified, and that shows that they're scared of the people. So if you could find a way to basically have a website where you figure out who they are, put their name there, and tell people to find them, I think that would be very intimidating. They would not be able to. I think, by the way, they look very afraid. The riot police right now looks more afraid than the people, which is very telling.
And you should also, while they're at it, because they really should, basically have a doxing list of all the miscreants, but also have a potential amnesty list. Give them a carrot and
Yeah.
a stick. If they do that, that might be doing way more than any Israeli strikes, because I think the message from the Israelis, the kinetic damage they can cause, also through subterfuge in collaboration with the dissidents, I think that's going to be enough at this point for quite a lot of regime folks to, yeah, no, 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 oh no, I'm not working. Don't put me off that doxing list. Please put me on that amnesty list. I will collaborate. I will do exactly everything you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I don't know if you know, but Prince Reza, I mean, I think you do actually. You said that Prince Reza Pahlavi has this platform where people from the regime can join him and pledge allegiance to his cause and movement. And he has already gathered tens of thousands of people within days after he started it, which is very encouraging. And I think the requirement could be that you need to join his platform, because he has a very secure platform for them to join. And that's actually a way that Prince Reza Pahlavi introduced as proof that you are on people's side, so that when everything falls apart, you have that on your record, that at some point you basically joined Prince Reza Pahlavi's platform.
All
Hey,
right.
possibly a link in the live chat. Could we maybe have a link in the chat that we could use so we get to the right place? Or maybe you could just post a link that we can all go through in the chat
Think of what?
to look on the site you mentioned.
The site I
to the
mentioned?
platform. Let me see if I could find it.
All right. And in the meanwhile, we have Cat Lady, please.
Coping is really nice to see you here. And about, I think one of the most useful things now is if there will be more videos in English from inside Iran. It can be really good. But just imagine, like, I'm just picturing myself, the IRGC, like paranoid, scared at home, want to turn on the AC, and then he realizes the remote is electronic, and he like runs and throws it away. And he wants to make coffee, he realizes the coffee machine has a display. It's like, can you imagine the paranoia they have right now? It really makes me happy. It really does. And also, one thing about the timer clock, the one possibility I see it is if they take over like the square with a clock to count down to Israel, then they do it about something of the maybe Khomeini's life or something. Khamenei, I meant. That's it.
Okay. Hila. Hila.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted you to, I asked you before and you didn't answer me about what the IDF said in his story. Not the Mossad, the IDF Farsi. What did they say?
I didn't see what the IDF said. I only saw what Mossad Farsi said. Did the IDF said something as well? I didn't see it.
I don't understand what they are saying.
Oh, I didn't see, so I don't know. I only know Mossad Farsi said to come into the streets. It's time. We're with you, not just from far away, not just with words. We're with you in the battlefield. That's what it said to the Iranian people. I didn't
More
actually, I didn't even know the IDF also said something to the Iranian people. So,
Yeah, like they have a
tell-
spokesman in Arabic, you know, this guy, Avichai. So they have IDF Farsi.
okay. Well, I didn't know that. Well, thank you for telling me.
IDF point Farsi in Instagram, whatever.
Okay. Okay. By the way, I love the fact that they have Farsi social media accounts and everything. It's just so wholesome. So, yeah.
Okay, and now we have Andrew.
Oh, hi, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. This is my second time with this small community. I wanted to offer a couple of apologies. Because I'm new to the group, I didn't realize that the large part of the focus and debate surrounds a part of the world that's not North America. And my first session, I apologize if I took too much time explaining the Canadian experience.
Israelis are the worst in this. Don't apologize.
Okay.
We are happy to hear. We are very happy to hear what's going on in other places.
Oh, that's good. That's very good to know. It makes me feel better. The other apology is directed towards a woman from California. I believe her name is Deborah. There were two Deborahs on the first call, and I think one was Canadian and one was from someplace in California.
I'm American.
Oh, Deborah Friedman. Yes, there you are. So, Deborah, the last conversation, I think I should have listened more and spoke less. I did take offense at your comment about Canada with respect to immigration and how bad Canada is off, because that's not my experience.
And I suggested that you should look at Rebel News because your experience is.
Oh, I don't look at. Sorry to interrupt you, Deborah. I don't look at Rebel News.
I noticed that you stick to
yeah.
the mainstream media, so I don't really care what you have to say.
No, I don't stick to the mainstream media, Deborah. But I don't subscribe, nor do I listen to right wing sources like the Rebel News. I have a good understanding of our country from other places.
So I'm sorry,
Deborah,
I don't really care what you have to say.
Deborah,
your apology is not accepted.
Deborah, the guy's pulling out the peace pipe. Relax. He's trying.
So Deborah, if you don't want to accept my apology, that's fine. That's totally up to you. I do, however, if it did create discord within the rest of the members, Deborah, I am offering an apology. You don't want to take mine, that's cool with me. And that's all I have.
Oh, we got it. We got the, but we understood. You froze for a while, but we understood the last point you were making.
I have about 30 seconds that I missed. That's it.
All right.
And I froze
Thank
again.
you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Can I say something for 10 seconds, please?
10 seconds.
I recommend for everyone, no matter what your political opinion is, to always listen to someone you disagree with as well as listening to people you agree with.
Yeah, I do it too. I do it too until I get it too aggravated. Okay, so do you have anything else to say, Mossad? Because I see that I'm empty.
Well, actually, no. I had a phone call, so I wasn't listening for a while. So I'm kind of catching up a bit. So I'm just listening for a while.
So I will rant a little bit, if it's okay. I listened to what you and Coping were discussing about, and I think that about the Iranian people need to pull it off. And yeah, I mean, certainly some of the things they need to pull it off. But I think all I'm saying is, like, gentlemen, don't over romanticize it. Okay? It's a revolution, it's exciting, but it's not, we're not in this lefty game. If there's a chance to get the bad guy, You say thank you, and the bad guy is gone. To bring the people to a closure, they need to shake him before and yell at him in a turn. And no, don't over fetishize it. Just, let's get it over with, is what I'm saying. We're on a good roll. Let it play out. And if somebody else, if a missile just so happened to find him in the middle of the night, so be it. I mean, let's wrap it up. I mean, the real is dropping. We have shit to do. That's what I'm saying. And I think that also, as an Israeli, I will say it, I think, and Jewish, I am entitled more than anybody else in the world to rue and to praise this thing. I think that the Iranian people, both them and the Jewish people, have suffered long and hard enough, and the Middle East has suffered instability that is tearing from one side of the freaking desert to the other side of the mountains and the sea and the river and whatever you want, whatever metaphors you wish to stick in there. And all I have to say is that I have a small gesture that I prepared because I love and appreciate the Persian culture and heritage. And I have prepared myself here. I improvised that this is my little black flag that I decided to raise in this day. I can explain to you what the black flag means. And I will stay with this flag up until your people are free, because then our people will be free together in the name of righteousness, in the name of peace, and in the name of Cyrus the freaking Great. Let's go.
Oh my God, that was powerful. Wow, thank you, Essie. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, amazing, amazing. I hope to see that day one day. Oh, look at all the hearts.
I have a suggestion as well. There
Okay.
is a place where the Iranian embassy, they bought land before the revolution. It's here in Tel Aviv. And when the time is right, we can go celebrate there. And even before, we can go interview. There is like a kids garden there now waiting for you. No building is allowed to be built in this territory, waiting for the Iranian embassy.
So I had a suggestion on my Persian channel, which Iranians loved. I know some of you are not going to like that, some of the anti-BB Israelis, but just let us have some fun, okay? We have in Tehran, there's a Palestine Square, and I suggested that we rename that square into Israel Square, and then we would put a statue of Netanyahu in the middle of it, the anti-Israeli remaining people in Iran. And then we will, because we cannot go and arrest the anti-Israelis for just being anti-Israelis, because we have freedom of speech, we will just put the Netanyahu statue in the middle of the square as bait, and we will have cameras there, and we will just let it stay there for them to come destroy, and then we will just keep arresting them for destroying public property, and we will keep rebuilding it for them to come destroy and then arrest them again. So that was something that so this way we should put Israel flags and Israel statues everywhere with cameras, just so that we could arrest these people for destroying public property. So I don't know, a lot of people thought that was a genius idea. That was a trap. So but yeah, we should have Israelis come to Iran to go to Cyrus's tomb. I think that would be imagine one day around Cyrus's tomb we have Iranians and Israelis with Iran's flag and Israeli flags all celebrating together all around Cyrus's tomb. That would be it. Imagine that. I don't know, Israeli flag next to Cyrus' tomb would look so powerful because it was Cyrus that made Israel possible at some point in time. So yeah.
Yeah, you
Can
guys really
also
need
take
to take the cylinder back,
exactly.
It's
Asi,
not
you just took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to say we need to do like the cylinder, Cyrus cylinder. Asi, you're great in this. You're just reading my mind.
Yeah. I went and
Shmuel?
saw the cylinder.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, I just said I visited when you go to the British Museum in London, the main piece that people want to go see is the Rosetta Stone, right? But Iranians, when they go to the British Museum, they all go to Cyrus Cylinder. That's the part that they want to go see. If you're ever in London, make sure you go to the British Museum. It's the largest free museum in the world, so you don't have to pay anything to get there. And make sure you go visit the Cyrus Cylinder part.
Armin, you want to know
There's
how much
nothing.
it's important, this cylinder. I grew up in a religious school which didn't teach all history, like only some parts that matched more. And there was a lot of time dedicated to reading this statement of Cyrus and
Really?
explain every word. Yes, yes.
By the way, if you do visit the Cyrus Cylinder, make sure you look at the wall next to the Cyrus Cylinder as well, because they have some of the stones from Persepolis on right next to the Cyrus Cylinder. And what you notice is that the people who are bringing gifts to Cyrus, you can see their differences are being celebrated, because Cyrus was somebody who didn't want to force, unlike all the other emperors, he didn't want to force one way on all people. So the purpose of that stone carving, is that how you call it in English, is to show that all the people who celebrate the king, they look different with their own cultures, with their own religions, with their own food, with their own tradition, and they are okay the way they are. They're celebrated the way they're like, usually before Cyrus, the only customs and traditions that was celebrated was the one of the empire. But Cyrus was somebody who was celebrating, the diversity, multiculturalism done right, not the one that they're doing it today. So not the one that we're doing today. Yeah. And the Cyrus Cylinder is considered to be the first declaration of human rights in history by many.
Okay, and we have Shmuel, Dajjal, and Uncle Coping.
Oh, I was going to say what Armin said earlier about Jews and Israelis going to visit Cyrus's tomb after the regime collapses and rejoicing there together, and having Jews read from the Old Testament, the many parts where Cyrus is mentioned. And my friend Nari, who's in the chat right now, she actually introduced me to this whole community. We were talking about that yesterday, so it's cool to hear that be brought up here in the community in the chat right now. Thanks.
Oh, Nara introduced you here?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you, Nara, for bringing. Okay, I'm going to make you a premium member, by the way, Samuel.
Thank you very
switching you
much.
to premium. Yeah, you're welcome. So now you have access to our premium calls as well.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Where are you speaking from, Shmuel?
I'm in Rhode Island right now, where I grew up. I go to law school in Virginia, but I'm on winter break.
Okay.
Rhode Island.
Nice.
Sam and I have never met, but we bonded after October 2023 and with Iran and everything.
Yeah, I think we met on a Facebook meme page, didn't we? And we were shitting on the pro-Islamists in that meme page. We were getting all offended at the anti-Islamist memes. And I forget who messaged the other first, but that's where we first established contact, because it was a recurring theme of both of us just destroying these idiots in the comments who were very clearly supportive of Islamism.
Can I ask you if you're related to Yaki and Dina Foyer in Portland?
I am not related to them.
Okay,
no.
I know it's the usual Jew question. Do you know these people? Sorry.
Is their last name spelled the same as mine?
No, they've got a U in there.
Okay, nope, definitely not.
But I know spellings can be weird because like my family's names changed the spelling when they came to the States, so I never know.
Right.
Thank
right.
you. Sorry.
No, Jewish geography, got to do it. Totally get it.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting day, hasn't it? Anyone else notice that Trump and Netanyahu were wearing the same suit, exactly the same? Like,
they are merging, slowly merging.
Yes.
I think they bought it together. Like me and my cousin, when we were 12, we used to coordinate outfits from the same store.
Like the Pretty Woman shopping stuff in the movie?
Like best friends that want to look like each other, like twins.
Now I have both of them in my head with the song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" shopping for ties.
I mean, it must be ordered pre-head from the same shop. It couldn't be by accident, or even like to coordinate the shade of the tide into this measurement.
I picked it.
Yeah, I
Trump
thought it
is
was.
the best troll on earth.
What did you say, John?
I said I just thought that was funny. I saw a lot of people commenting on it. People were pretty pissed off, by not just the fact they were wearing the same suit, and people. They were saying, "Oh no, they're wearing the same suit now." They really didn't like that. That means they're they're getting closer, and Trump was been heaping praise on the guy, like they were getting along great. Everybody hates that, which just makes it fun. I know he's giving Israel permission to strike when they see fit. That's a good sign. Hopefully they'll do it. It needs to get done. I'm with Aussie. Just don't waste time for all this bullshit. Like, who does it, who doesn't do it. Just get it done. If you got the opportunity to get it done and get it over with, we've had enough of this shit. Just fucking kill these guys and free Iran, and let's be done with it. I was going to say, Andrew Coster, got a question for you. What about Rebel News do you not like exactly? I'm just curious.
I turned my microphone on. Here I am. Thank you for your patience, as I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff. Well, I've always been politically and socially on the left. As I explained, growing up in a working class neighborhood in Winnipeg, populated by people who were Slavs, myself, and Jews, it was a very dynamic, progressive working class neighborhood. And I've always been that way. Rebel News to me represents a sort of a reactionary type of publication and attitude that I have no time for. For me, it's all about making the world a better place. And Rebel News doesn't kind of satisfy that, in my view. It was very interesting the other afternoon when I questioned what are American values. 2 or 3 people chimed in and talked about the rights of individuals and liberty and these kinds of things. But nobody mentioned community, which I found interesting as I was thinking about it, that the people who responded didn't see community as part of the values of their country. And for me, it's all about community. I mean, we are a community right now. So I guess that's why I have no time for people on the right, like the guy who runs Rebel News. I can't remember his name. I can see his face now.
Tommy Robinson? So you're talking?
I'm sorry?
No, it's Ezra Levant, isn't it? Ezra Levant?
Oh, yeah.
Your audio is hard to understand. That's why we're having a hard time.
Isn't it Ezra Levant?
Yeah, right. I got you.
It's really important that you fix your audio. It's really ruining. Go on.
Sorry. I agree. I got the microphone. It wasn't working. I had to send it back. I'm actually traveling right now. I'm in a hotel room. I'll do it, I promise.
Okay, so by the next call, please have it fixed because it's really hurting the views on the
or I'll just lay low next one. Yeah, I promise. Either way.
It's Ezra Levant, the guy who founded Rebel News. Ezra Levant.
Okay. Well, you talk about community, immigration, all that. So I guess he's got no problem with the mass Muslim migration then, and the fact that it's destroying your fucking country and the West at large.
No. It's not. It's.
I don't see that in Canada.
You don't see that?
I can't speak to the European situation nor the American situation. But our country is not being ruined by immigration. Our country is being. Our country is in jeopardy right now.
Bullshit. I've seen never lose against
Guys, we do want this group to be open to disagree. Just 1 second, guys. We do want this group to have some healthy disagreements here. So let's make sure that we can be welcoming to people who might not share the same values as the rest of us, because that's actually will make our group stronger, so that we could actually discuss these
And that's
disagreements
that's the thing. I mean, that's fine. I
in
get,
a
and
polite,
Especially when it's so
in a
polite
polite,
about
Guys,
it.
in a
guys, I
polite,
don't.
respectful way.
I
It's
get out
not.
there.
It, okay.
But he
So
said he's got no time for that. Well, I mean, it's
he doesn't listen. I don't think that this line of it's not very productive. Basically, he doesn't like the newspaper that you are pointing at. This Rebel News. He doesn't like it. It's his right. You
I
can try
didn't
to
say
convince him why he should read or listen to something else. But the way that it carries itself, it's not helping.
it's just because of men like him that Western civilization is dying. So
Okay, well, I'm dying as well. I'll probably be gone before you, so.
That,
I'd say
okay,
because Andrew
let's
is
move on.
presenting his arguments very nicely. I don't think there's a point shouting at him.
Right. Okay. We have a list which I'd like to go to. So now we have Uncle copying, please. And after